Hello and welcome to this repair tutorial, and today we're going to look at a Cambridge 651P, which is a phono preamplifier stroke equalizer and commonly used for the connection of a turntable. And that turntable can either have a moving magnet or moving coil type cartridge, and the output would be fed into normally the line input of an amplifier if that amplifier didn't already have an integral phono stage built in. In terms of general specifications, gain of 39 dB at 1 kHz, and then the nominal output is 300 millivolts, which is sufficient to drive really any line input of any modern day amplifier and older amplifiers. But normally with older amplifiers the input millivoltage was much less. Commonly now it's sort of in the region of about 150 up to about 250. And then for input sensitivity, for moving magnet is 3.35 millivolts, and then for moving coil it's 0.5 millivolts. Just to make you aware that at the rear of the preamplifier you have a switch, and you have two sets of terminals, of course depending on which cartridge you're going to connect to it, and then you need to move the switch over left or right, but it's clearly marked for moving magnet or moving coil. And then for total harmonic distortion, it's 0.005% of a frequency range of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. And then for the RIAA curve accuracy, it's plus or minus 0.3 dB. Now, with regard to the RIAA, I've put a link in the description for the video, and it will refer you back to a previous tutorial which I go in detail concerning what this curve is and how it's applied in vinyl record production. And I also cover as well the moving magnet and moving coil type cartridges. So just for your own reference, if you want to seek more information, by all means review that. This preamplifier also has a subsonic filter, and again it is mentioned in the video link below, but what it refers to is because a moving coil and a moving magnet are electromechanical devices. So as the stylus travels through the groove and the ups and downs which are imprinted into there, of course what you don't want to do is you don't want to actually transmit into the preamplifier noise which can come maybe from the turntable motor or any other part of the record player. So the subsonic filter is used to filter out those types of frequencies. And again, when you look at the back of the preamp, it is selectable. And then input impedance is standard, so this is 47k ohms, and you will find that for all of the moving magnet and moving coil type preamplifiers, and those that are amplifiers that have it already built in. And then input capacitance is 220 picofarads, and a small compact unit. And in terms of height, you're looking at 46 millimeters, width of 215, and a depth of 133. And then the weight is 0.90 kilograms. Now the unit is very popular. When you look internally, you'll sort of see this in the video for the circuit board layout, there is a lot in there, and it's a nice design. You know, I've seen preamplifiers which are pretty much just a bit of filtering and maybe one integrated circuit, and that's your lot. Here with this preamplifier, that is not the case. What I also want to bring to your attention is really the operation also, before we get into what the issue was with this preamp, which is specific to the 651P. What I'm showing here in the video is a small relay, and the instruction manual will refer to this as a mute relay. Just be aware that if you receive one of these in the workshop, when you power it up during the initial test phase, after 15 seconds the relay will energize, and then it will then connect the signal, depending on whichever signal is being applied, to the output RCA sockets. But just be aware of that. It is quite a long duration. Most protection systems in amplifiers, you know, sort of 5 to 8 seconds is normal, but 15 seconds is quite long. So it could catch you out. You may think, oh, I've got no output, and actually depower the preamplifier, and then you're getting kind of like a cycle. So you're kind of thinking that there's an issue with the output, but actually there isn't. You just haven't allowed sufficient time. Also as well, when I show in the video is the power supply section. With this model of preamplifier, and because it was later than the 540p, What you don't see here is the common issue with the glue, the brown glue, that becomes conductive and also corrosive. So that's a good thing. You're not going to see any sort of issues associated with that then. And it's important, for you to see that. Now, what was the issue with this preamplifier when it came in? Well, what the report was that if the customer connected to the moving magnet input, if they move one of the input connectors, then the customer would experience a large buzzing noise or loud buzzing noise coming out of the output. But just sort of moving the input RCA socket, then it would just disappear, and then it would then come back again. So normally you may think, well, okay, well, if it's buzzing, that could be an issue maybe with the power supply's filter capacitors. But the point to note here was it was specific just to the moving magnet input. If you flicked it over to moving coil, then you didn't experience that. So what I show, and the disassembly of this preamplifier is very, very easy, to remove the rear sort of self-tapping screws that connect for the different RCA sockets and also the power input socket. And then after that, there's just some pan head screws to remove. And then you can withdraw the entire circuit board as shown. And what I'm really looking for is something, around the input socket for the moving magnet. And what you can see here in the video is during manufacturing production, really kind of like a minimal amount of flow solder seems to have been deposited around the ground contact for the respective input that was playing up. And then literally if you move the RCA socket, you could see that it was breaking away from the board and then making contact. Hence what we were losing here was the ground connection, and that's where the buzzing noise was then being manifest from. So not a complicated repair at all, very, very straightforward, and a simple matter then just to reflow that ground connection, and then that fixed the issue. Also as well, just for your own information, this is not uncommon. Often you may well find, even on amplifiers, a respective input, you may get some buzzing noise in there, and then when you sort of move the contact or the input connection, then it will go away. Always check around these input sockets, because this is the point about having mechanical stress and they then break away from the board. The other point to note with this preamplifier, and this is the same for all of the Cambridge preamplifiers, the 540 series and then the 651 series, it comes with its own power supply, but the power supply is not a DC power supply. This one here is 12 volts nominal AC, and it will provide a current of 500 milliamps, and on the rear it will be marked as 0.5 amps, 500 milliamps, as a required current. If you're looking to have a replacement, remember you can go up in current, so maybe you have a 1 amp one which is 12 volts AC, but of course don't go below half an amp, because it will be insufficient then to drive the preamplifier. So really that sort of brings us to a close on this. As I said to you, it's not a complicated repair, and just really like an introduction for sort of a preamplifier as such. But again, if you have any questions or you need any support, by all means email audioamplifierservicing@aol.com, and I'll be more than happy to come back to you and provide you with any information or advice that you may require. So thanks very much for stopping by, and until the next time, cheers and bye bye.